දවස් 30ක්ම unlimited Netflix බලන්න. Unlimited data pack එකක් මුළු පවුලටම unlimited fun එකක් අරගන්න. අදම active කරගන්න.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, no word as yet. As Christmas edges closer, the Army commander says no decision yet on lockdown as antigen testing continues at expressway exits. Supporting efforts, the United Nations pledges support for procuring, distributing and administering mass inoculations in Sri Lanka. Safe compromise. Health official says temporary storage of Muslim COVID-19 remains in refrigerated containers a sensible move.
This arrangement is not going to cause any risk to the public.
Funding improvements. The cabinet approves €18 million agreement to fund legislative improvements with the European Union. All this and much more coming up on this Tuesday, the 22nd of December 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First Aid.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
Try out our new product range. Celebrate and feel the difference with Byraha.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I am Shanella Fernando. Moving on to your top stories for tonight. Chief of the National Operations Centre for Prevention of COVID-19, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva says that as yet no decision has been taken to impose a quarantine curfew during the festive season, as the public should by now know the nature of the virus and act accordingly. In the meantime, police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana says that antigen tests will continue to be conducted at all exit points of the Southern Expressway until the 5th of January. The total number of COVID-19 deaths related in Sri Lanka increased to 181, with the confirmation of 5 more deaths this morning. The victims include a prison inmate and 2 residents, each from both Colombo and Kalutara districts. During the course of yesterday, 370 infections were detected in Sri Lanka, with the virus hotspot Colombo contributing 101 to this figure. Of the infections detected in Colombo, 43 were confirmed in Ratmalana. Apart from Colombo, 67 infections were reported from Gampaha, 46 from Kalutara, 35 from Ratnapura, 26 from Kurunagala, 25 from Kandy and 23 from Ampara yesterday. Further infections reported yesterday also included 12 from Gaul, 7 from Matara, 6 from Kegol, 5 from Putlam, 3 infections each from Matale and Jaffna and 2 from Trincomalee. What's more, a single infection each was reported from Hambantota, Batiklo and Anuradhapura yesterday as well. In another development, Chief of the National Operations Centre for Prevention of COVID-19, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva says no decision has yet been made to impose a quarantine curfew.
මේ වෙද්දී අවසන් තීරණයක් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ මේ උත්සව සමයට මොකද කරන්න කියන එක.
අපි මේ අවස්ථාවේදී කිසිදු බලාපොරොත්තුවක් නැහැ නිරෝධායන ඇඳිරි නීතියක් පනවන්නවත් අපි දැන්ට පනවපු නැති ප්‍රදේශවල අත්‍යවශ්‍යතාවයක් කරනකොට උදකලා කිරීමකට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒත් එක්කම සංචාරන සීමා පැනවීමට අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. මේ නීති පැනවීමට අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. රටේ ඉන්නේ බුද්ධිමත් ජනතාවක්. මේ ජනතාව තේරුම් ගත යුතුයි COVID-19 අද ලෝකේ හැසිරෙන ක්‍රමවේදය මොකක්ද කියලා. මහා බ්‍රිතාන්‍යයෙන් තත්ත්වය ඉතාමත් පැහැදිලිව පේනවා. ඒත් එක්ක ඔබ දකින්න ඇති ඔස්ට්‍රේලියාවේ රටේ සමහර ප්‍රාන්තවලින් පිටත් වෙන්නත් බෑ පිටත් වෙන්න එපැයි කියලා නියෝග පැමිණලා තිබෙනවා. ඉතින් මෙවැනි ලෝක තත්ත්වයක්.
In more news, police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana at a media briefing this evening said that rapid antigen tests are being conducted at all exit points of the Southern Expressway.
The rapid antigen tests are being conducted at 11 exit points of Western Province, and in addition to that the antigen tests are conducted at the exit points of Southern Highway. As of today, 17 COVID positive patients have been identified. So we are intending to conduct rapid antigen test along with health authorities for a period of 2 weeks till the 5th of January 2021.
In other developments, the total number of COVID-19 recoveries in Sri Lanka increased to 29,300, with 618 patients recovering and discharged from the hospitals during the day. Meanwhile, the daily meeting on COVID-19 prevention worked off today under the patronage of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. During the meeting, attention was drawn to COVID-19 vaccines produced by the United States, the UK and China. At the meeting, the President assigned the Chief Presidential Advisor LALITH WEERATUNGA the task of entering into discussions with the countries after carrying out detailed research on the vaccines. Discussions were also held on identifying priority groups that the vaccines should be administered to first, with a decision taken to collect data on the locations and groups considered at high risk of the virus.
Safeguard hand sanitizer නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නීරෝගිමත් දිවියකට ලංකාවේ පළමු වරට හඳුන්වා දෙන මැලිබන් වෙජි ක්‍රැකර්
Crunchy Veggie.
With several countries having commenced mass inoculations against COVID-19, the United Nations has assured Sri Lanka of its support for procuring, distributing and administering vaccines. This pledge was made today during a meeting between Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and a UN delegation comprising of UN Resident Coordinator Hannah Singer, WHO representative Dr. Razia Pensy and UNICEF representative Tim Sutton. The UN delegation and Sri Lankan officials agreed that vaccinations on a mass scale will require a whole-of-government approach to ensure Sri Lanka's preparedness for the delivery and administering of the vaccine once it arrives. UNICEF representative Tim Sutton told the Prime Minister that while UNICEF is already assisting with procurement during the initial phases, it can also assist the government with vaccine procurement beyond the initial 20%. The delegation also reiterated the need for continued public adherence to wearing masks, washing hands and maintaining adequate physical distance. The new detection of a new mutated strain of the COVID-19 virus across parts of the United Kingdom that is reportedly 70% more virulent than what we are dealing with currently has raised questions over the efficacy of vaccines. Researchers say that current vaccines in circulation should be able to handle the new strain. However, if further mutations occur, vaccines may need to be tweaked in line with them.
As global health services continue to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic, the virus seems to be bent on keeping governments and their people on edge. The recent revelation of the discovery of a new strain of the coronavirus in the United Kingdom has hence increased concerns. This time too, the virus seems to be a more virulent strain, with scientists claiming it to be as much as 70% more infectious than the current one. An initial analysis of the new strain published recently has shown that it contains 17 new and potentially important alterations. However, the most alarming change in the new strain is a significant mutation to its spike protein, which is the key used by the virus to unlock doorways into human cells. Scientists say that the most likely explanation as to how such a mutation could have happened is that it may have emerged in a patient with a weakened immune system that was unable to cope with the virus. This in turn would have made the patient's body a potential breeding ground for such a mutation. Researchers at the University of Cambridge say that such mutation has been shown to increase infectivity twofold in laboratory experiments. Doctors, however, say that this may not necessarily make the new strain more deadly, but the increased virulence alone could be sufficient to increase the strain on medical services. Meanwhile, as COVID-19 vaccines begin rolling out and public inoculations are underway, the big question right now is, will the current vaccines be able to tackle it? With vaccines designed to attack several different parts of the virus, scientists say that despite the virus's spike protein mutating, the vaccines should work. However, if the vaccine continues to develop more mutations, then it would be a major cause for concern, with the new mutations being called the first step towards the virus achieving what is termed vaccine escape. Vaccine escape happens when the virus changes so much that it dodges the full effect of the vaccine and continues to infect people. Currently, that is exactly what scientists are expecting COVID-19 to do, which may result in vaccines too having to constantly be tweaked in order to keep up.
The government has announced that travellers from the United Kingdom will not be allowed into the country with effect from 2 a.m. tomorrow. The decision was taken following the detection of a new strain of COVID-19 in some parts of Britain. This follows similar restrictions having been imposed by dozens of European and other countries. According to the Civil Aviation Authority, this move will be in effect from 2 a.m. tomorrow and will remain in place until further notice. More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. In more news, the Cabinet of Ministers have consented to the entering into an agreement with the European Union for financial assistance towards a project to assist the legislature of Sri Lanka. The EU has agreed to a grant of 18 million euros for the implementation of this project, with the objective of establishing an improved and responsive justice administration system. Among the other decisions made was the signing of a memorandum of understanding with South Africa on tourism cooperation. The decisions taken during the meeting of Cabinet Ministers last evening were announced to the media today. The Cabinet of Ministers have approved the resolution tabled by the Prime Minister in his capacity as the Minister of Finance for entering into an agreement with the European Union for financial assistance towards a project to assist the legislature of Sri Lanka. The European Union has agreed upon a grant of 18 million euros for the implementation of the project, with the objective of establishing an improved and responsive justice administration system within Sri Lanka through enhancing access for obtaining service supply quality and service receipt. The Cabinet of Ministers have also consented to a proposal submitted by the Minister of Health for a new national psychological and mental health policy for the 2020 to 2030 period. The previous psychological health policy in Sri Lanka was formulated in 2005, and the need for an updated policy has been recognized for the coordination and supervision of strategic process according to current requirements. Meanwhile, updating the partnership agreement of the pilot project conducted using the WOLBACHIA bacteria for the suppression of dengue in the Colombo district has also been given the cabinet nod. The WOLBACHIA bacteria was introduced under the Global Mosquito Program by the Monash University to control the mosquitoes-borne viruses. Further, the enforcement of trade remedy laws was also given the cabinet all clear yesterday. The Gazette Notification on Anti-Dumping and Countervailing Duties Act No. 2 of 2018 and the Safeguard Measures Act No. 3 of 2018 were published previously, with the acts coming into effect from the 19th of October 2020. With acts coming into effect required to be declared by the subject minister, the Cabinet of Ministers have taken into the account the information brought forward by the Minister of Industries, indicating that the Director General of Commerce is liable to acting to avoid any unfavourable circumstances caused to local industries under the two acts. The Cabinet has also approved the development of coconut-related industry system, the protection of local coconut oil producers and the protection of the Sri Lankan coconut oil brand name. Further, several combined proposals presented by the Minister of Plantations and the Minister of Industry for the development of the coconut-based industrial system were approved by the Cabinet of Ministers. Among them are the importation of sliced dry coconut required for a period of 3 months instead of importing coconut oil. Also approved was the complete prohibition on the sale of coconut oil mixed with palm oil or other oils. In addition, recognition for the discouragement of palm oil consumption in the country and the promotion of coconut oil as a basic policy of the government and permission to import only refined palm oil. In addition, recognition for the discouragement of palm oil consumption in the country and the promotion of coconut oil as a basic policy of the government and permission to import only refined palm oil was also approved. Further, the Cabinet also green-lighted the provision of relief for the repayment of loans obtained by coconut industrialists. The introduction of relief packages to increase productivity in coconut plantations was also approved. With the Memorandum of Understanding on Tourism Cooperation between Sri Lanka and South Africa expiring in 2017, a new MOU was proposed at the 6th session of the Partnership Forum between Sri Lanka and South Africa in 2018. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal to sign a new MOU between the two countries. Further, it has been proposed to expand the Kandy Industrial Park using 5.55 hectares of government-owned land nearby. Accordingly, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal presented by the Minister of Tourism to hand over this land to the Board of Investment as a free grant in order to expand the industrial park. The Cabinet also granted approval to another proposal put forth by the Minister of Tourism to waive the landing and parking fees for international flights from 26 December 2020 to 19th November 2021 to encourage airlines to operate flights to Sri Lanka.
We are going to invite most of the airlines because airlines they are also going through a bit of a bad patch, as you know. That's why we are given this concession for a period of 1 month. We have not got exact details how many airlines are willing to come to Sri Lanka at this particular moment because they have their own issues as well. But we'll try and see how many airlines we can handle and also how many passengers we can handle. This is a trial actually, so we'll have to see. You'll have to give us a few days to see how best we could operate. I can categorically state the fact that most of the airlines that were flying to Sri Lanka, they are willing to start their operations, but number of passengers, those who are willing to come, we don't have exact figures.
All that will be made an assessment. While making assessments, we also are looking for numbers that can be accommodated, that can be treated, and that can be looked into with the COVID situation. We will not exceed the numbers, but as far as numbers are concerned, we need to take the data and then work thereon. Already, I think there are few names that can come up. So we will have an alternate organization similar to that. Whatever the decision that we take in terms of vesting powers to organizations depends on the fast tracking of activities that we embarked on.
Several refrigerated containers have been provided to the Colombo Chief Judicial Medical Officer yesterday following a request made by Director General of Health Services Dr. Asela Gunawardena from Minister of Justice, President's Counsel Ali Sabri. In the meantime, Deputy Director General of Public Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath says that storage of corpses in refrigerated containers is safe and pose no risk to the public.
Minister of Justice, President's Counsel Ali Sabri recently proposed the storing of the remains of Muslim COVID-19 deceased in refrigerated containers until a final decision pertaining to the burial issue is reached. Accordingly, Director General of Health Services Dr. Asela Gunawardena, in response to the proposal, requested for 5 refrigerated containers to be used by the Chief Judicial Medical Officer in Colombo, Kalutara, Kandy and Negombo, and the Ashraf Memorial Hospital in Kalmane. With that, refrigerated containers were provided to the Colombo Chief Judicial Medical Officer yesterday. In the meantime, Deputy Director General of Public Health Services Dr. Hemantha Herath says that no risk exists from using refrigerated containers for the storage of COVID-19 deceased.
This arrangement has been done after evaluating the process, and we have been able to ensure that the methods that they have used will not in any way pose a risk to the public because it is a fully sealed container, and theoretically there is no risk of getting the virus out of this container. And even if it happens during the transfer of bodies out of this container, even if there is a slightest risk, that will be diluted in the atmosphere, and also it is in the open air, and through the sunlight it will be destroyed. And therefore I would say that this arrangement is not going to cause any risk to the public.
Meanwhile, during the virtual Cabinet media briefing this morning, Cabinet co-spokesperson Dr. Ramesh Patirana had this to say on the issue.
The health authorities will not preserve these bodies indefinitely, so we are waiting the decision. And also until such time, these bodies are kept preserved in an airtight container. So there is no risk of spreading the disease at this particular moment, but you can't retain them indefinitely, as you correctly mentioned. So we have to take a decision about it.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has extended the official term of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry appointed to probe the Easter Sunday terror attacks until January 31, 2021. An extraordinary Gazette notification has been issued to this effect, with the Presidential Commission's term set to end on December 20th. The Gazette enlarging the term of the Presidential Commission for the compilation of the final report on the terror attacks which occurred on 21st April 2019 was issued by the Presidential Secretariat. The commission was established under the Section 2 of Commission of Inquiry Act on 20th September 2019 by a notification published in the Gazette Extraordinary number 2141/88 in order to investigate, inquire into and report on or take necessary action in relation to the Easter attacks. The term of the commission has been extended on 3 previous occasions. We'll return after this short commercial break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In your business news, the central bank's inflation report for the month of November housed a year-on-year decline to 5.2%. In addition, year-on-year food inflation too recorded a decrease of over 1 percentage point for the month. However, prices in the public transportation subcategory recorded an increase during the month.
Headline inflation, as measured by the year-on-year change in the National Consumer Price Index, decreased to 5.2% in November 2020 from 5.5% in October. This was attributed to the statistical effect of the high base that prevailed in November 2019. Meanwhile, year-on-year food inflation decreased to 9.4% in November from 10.6% in October 2020. Further, year-on-year non-food inflation increased to 1.7% in November 2020 from 1.5% in October. The change in the NCPI measured on an annual average basis increased marginally to 6.3% in November from 6.2% in October. With that, the monthly change in the NCPI recorded at 0.4% in November was mainly due to increases observed in prices of items in both the food and non-food categories. Moreover, monthly changes in the food and non-food categories were recorded at 0.34% and 0.13% respectively in the month of November. Accordingly, within the food category, increases were observed mainly in the prices of rice, big onions, coconuts and potatoes during the month. Moreover, within the non-food category, the prices in the public transportation subcategory recorded an increase during the month. Further, both year-on-year co-inflation and annual average co-inflation remained unchanged at 4.5% and 4.2% respectively in November 2020.
Stocks closed 0.18% higher today, pushed by index-heavy counters. The old share price index gained 12.21 points to close at 6,634.92, and the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks gained 4.42 points to close at 2,584.63. Here's a brief report on today's market performance.
Market witnessed a sideward movement throughout the day, and we see the small upsurge in the mid of the day and consolidated, and market closed 6,634.92, 12 points up compared to yesterday. For today, market turnover posted the 2020 high 5.8 billion rupees and mainly contributed by the Brown investment. The foreign selling side, we saw the foreign inflow for yesterday, but it reverted back to the foreign selling.
The rupee closed weaker at 189.50 cents to 190.50 cents to the US dollar today, after being quoted at 188.80 cents to the US dollar yesterday. Let's now take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. Before we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9, we bring you our special Christmas segment, Message of Hope.
My dear friends, as we celebrate this Christmas, we must remember that God has loved us so much that He has sent His only Son to save us as a human being. The birth of Jesus in Bethlehem is an act of love. So in a way, it's a joyful celebration because God loved us so much and we experience that. And at the same time, we all know what is happening throughout the entire world. This COVID-19 has unmasked our vulnerability and at the same time, our priorities. Everywhere, everyone is talking about it. irrespective of our religious affiliation, our race or caste, this disease is going to everyone. And at the same time, as we celebrate this Christmas, we have to be very concerned about ourselves and especially about our neighbor. Therefore, my dear friends, I very earnestly request, kindly make this celebration especially a family celebration and at the same time spiritual celebration. When I say family celebration, it should be a nuclear family, not extended family coming together and celebrating. We must always be concerned about our neighbors. That is our responsibility. We have seen all over the world how this pandemic has deserted the streets. Darkness is all over the world. My dear friends, we need a new beginning, a beginning with God and through Jesus with the intercession of Mary. My dear friends, I wish you all very, very happy Christmas and happy New Year. God bless you all.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Have a good night.